We recently spent a month in Baja, and today we're sharing everything you need to know before taking your rig across the Mexican border.
Hey, I'm Jalen. This is Daniella.
Hey!
And we're the Cream-based bus. We travel around North America in our 36-foot school bus. And of course, we have 3 cats along the ride with us. Let's get right into our top 10 tips on how to make it to Baja.
The first thing you'll need to get into Mexico is a valid passport. Make sure that you have one and it is not expired, and it won't be before you're coming back. You'll need this passport to get both into Mexico and back into the US. The only times that our passport was checked was at the border. Nobody asked for it or looked at it at all on our trip down there. But just to be safe, we also
made copies of our passports and had a notary sign them before we crossed the border, just to be sure if we lost or our passports were stolen that we could get back across to the U.S. Today we're actually sitting somewhere in Pikes National Forest, I believe. Yeah. To commemorate our experience and our month, I'm also having a margarita. So cheers.
Just spilled it all over himself. As Jalen said earlier, we travel with 3 cats. So if you have pets and you're trying to cross the border, you're going to need a copy of all their up-to-date vaccines. We actually weren't asked for this. Nobody checked at all, but it does say online to make sure you have it. So I would just get the most recent copy from your vet. I don't know if there are different restrictions on dogs, but all we needed for our cats was just vaccinations up to date.
You'll absolutely need to have a registration for your vehicle up to date as well. That will need to match your license plate and your VIN number. That is something that they specifically checked with us. It might not be for everyone, but just to be sure, definitely make sure you have an up-to-date registration.
Some people don't know about this, but you will need Mexican vehicle insurance to drive your rig throughout Baja. The insurance you already have may cover you in another country, so I would definitely give it a check first, but if it does not, you will have to get Mexican-specific insurance. There are a couple companies that offer this. We specifically went with Baja Bound, and we were able to get that insurance same day, morning of, before crossing the border within like a 10-minute process. It is not difficult. While easy, it is costly.
Definitely costly. We spent $420 on 3 months of full coverage for our bus before crossing the border.
Something else is to make sure you exchange some cash for pesos. You never know when you might need this. You may want to buy local vendor food or trinkets on the beach. You might have to bribe off a cop who pulls you over. You just never know.
Does feel kind of cool to have pesos stashed around your bus.
And you should stash them.
And you should absolutely stash it. Just a quick pointer. We actually dispersed ours. So we kept a little bit of pesos right next to us. I think like maybe 200 pesos right next to me while I'm driving. And then we stashed it in other places around the bus as well. Once you cross over the border, you have to go get your FMM paperwork. That's something you do after they've checked your passport, checked your rig. You stop off and tell them how long you're going to stay. You sign some paperwork. We actually got an FMM for around $42 a piece. It came a little bit over $80 US for both of us to get our FMMs for 2 months. Now, we knew that we were only going to stay for a month, but we planned just to get extra because you never know. You might get down to Baja and not want to leave.
If this is an unfamiliar term, your FMM is basically your tourist visa, and you definitely want to make sure to stop and get this because the only place you can is at the border, and if you don't and you're stopped and you need it, you will have to drive all the way back. Researching the FMM was a lot more complicated than the actual process. There's absolutely nothing you have to do before actually crossing the border. You don't need to fill it out online. So this is just a very easy stop. Don't be intimidated by this because it definitely scared us away a couple times on the unclarity of how to go about getting this and if you needed it before or not.
And the FMM is a visa for temporary use. So if you're staying more than 6 months, you will need a different type of visa in order to stay for a longer period of time, or you just come back and then go back again for another 6 months.
I'm sure there's a way to get it extended once you're down there. Before crossing the border, it's important to know the customs regulations of going into Mexico. You are not allowed to bring any sort of produce such as fruits, vegetables, or dairy products. You also need to limit the amount of alcohol you're bringing over per person or per vehicle. I think it's around 2 bottles. We didn't really look into it because it didn't matter to us. Of course, don't have any illegal paraphernalia with you.
We left our reefer in a bush. In this bag is all of our paraphernalia that we left in the United States in a bush in the Walmart right before the Calexico border. And we doubted that it was still here.
Surprisingly, we were not checked for any of those items on our way in or out of Mexico. It is circumstantial. It depends what officer is checking you, probably the time of day and how busy it is. But it is really important to avoid having those items because we do know someone who was fined $200 just for bringing one avocado over the border.
Ouch. That was a pricey avocado.
Yeah.
We have a lot of plants with us that we absolutely adore. And actually, when we thought about it last minute that we might have to get rid of our plants, it was kind of a game changer. We almost didn't go.
I almost was like, we're not going. We're just not going. I'm not getting rid of our plants.
Gotta get rid of our plants.
No. I don't know. Should we really go?
You don't want to get rid of our plants? We took the risk and we did bring our plants in. Now, that's another thing that could be circumstantial depending on who is actually checking you. We got across the border with our plants and we're very, very grateful to not get checked on our way back out a month later, and we were able to bring our plants back with us. Maybe that's also illegal?
That's illegal. That is illegal, yes.
Get ready for some very, very tight roads, you guys. Now, I'm not saying that some roads in the U.S. are not just as bad, but with no shoulder and a lot of semis running on a two-way road, it can get a little bit funky.
On the side of a cliff.
Literally on the side of a cliff with no shoulder.
Needless to say, I did not drive the bus at all in Baja. There was a stretch of an hour at the very start where I attempted to, just enough time for Jalen to lovingly make us lunch and feed it to me, and then it was his turn up to drive again.
Oh my God. Damn, put me to work. There are a ton of potholes. There are stretches where all you're doing for like over an hour is avoiding potholes. So make sure your tires are good too. That's just a little extra bit.
Topes. So topes are speed bumps and they are frequent. They're not always signed and they are quite large. So you definitely need to watch out for those. We came up to one at night that we didn't see until it was too late, and Jalen hit our brakes really hard and our toilet went flying, a disaster all over our bathroom.
Flipped completely upside
It was
down.
disgusting. Needless to say, we bolted our toilet into the wall that same night, but definitely watch out for topes.
I'd love to talk a little bit about driving at night. Don't do it. I actually want to go back to topes really quick.
Okay.
So topes are a crazy one, you guys, because sure, you're like, whatever, speed bumps, but sometimes there'll be a advisory that there's going to be one and there won't be. It will be paint on the street in the shape of a tope. So you have to be ready for them whenever. As soon as you start getting into smaller, I'd say like little like towns, start getting ready to see these very, very frequently. With that, I'd like to get into another thing about driving at night. We strongly suggest against it.
We don't strongly suggest against it because we did it almost every day, but everyone else strongly suggests against it, and they have very valid reasons, which Jalen will explain.
There's definitely a lot less visibility at night, so you're not able to pick up on those topes, those shoulders, those potholes. All of those things become less apparent when you are driving at night.
Besides road conditions, there are also a lot more animals active at night, so it's super important to watch out for the animals once it starts getting dark. We drove almost every day at night and didn't run into any issues, but we do understand why you wouldn't, and it wasn't our preference or our choice. We really had to book it down to the bottom of Cabo in 5 days so that I could fly out for a bachelorette in Florida. But otherwise, I would definitely suggest driving during the day so you can enjoy the views and, it's just a lot safer.
Just a small tidbit about us. The way that we travel is very, very, very frequently. We get really used to it, and what we do is we usually push it to the end of our destination, and then we slowly come back. That's just how we've always done it. And right now, sitting here at Pikes Peak is probably the first time we've spent more than 4 or 5 days in one place in a long time.
Feels really good to slow down though, and we're going to try to travel more like this now that we don't have set plans holding us to places we have to be. The next tip we have for you is to travel with friends. If you know folks who have gone to Baja, it is so nice to go with them and them show you the ropes. But if you don't, even just traveling with another vehicle, with another person is awesome. You never know who's going to get stuck in the sand. If you need to get help, somebody can go and do those things. They can pull you out of the sand. It's safer to travel in numbers. So even if you don't know somebody experienced, it's great to go in a caravan of 2 or more.
You can definitely meet someone at Schoolypalooza next year, I'm absolutely sure, or whenever you're watching this. Schoolypalooza is an event that happens in Arizona where a ton of people get together and essentially while they're there are probably planning a Baja trip right after it. So I definitely think if you don't have someone now, I suggest going to Schoolypalooza. You will definitely find your people that you will want to go to Baja with while you're there.
And just connecting with people online. There's so many other bus, van, RV life people who travel down there yearly and would love to, go with you.
The community is great. If you have any questions about any of this, asking us, asking the community on Instagram or what have you, someone will always have an answer for one of these questions that you may have.
This community is definitely one of our favorite parts about bus life. It just is so rewarding and everyone has been really awesome since we've got started. Another point on knowing your rig and driving in Baja is that you will go through a bunch of military checkpoints throughout your trip, both south and back up north.
They only ask a few questions like where you came from, where you're going, and that's really all that they're asking. And if you can answer those 2 questions confidently, chances are they're going to let you go through.
We didn't have any negative experiences. They come in your bus and check around sometimes. Maybe they'll ask you if you have anything illegal, drugs, weapons, etc., but nothing to worry about. The last tip we have for you today is to know a little bit of Spanish before you go. You don't have to know anything crazy. It just gives a little respect to the people whose home country you're in when you can say hello and just have some basic conversation with them.
For me personally, I only know a lot of transactional stuff. Where to eat, how much is this, where is this, things of that nature. And knowing how to just have these basic transactional type conversations can help you a ton with issues that you may have on the road, whether it be that your gray water tank is falling out.
So we were driving down the road and started to hear a noise and realized our gray water tank is falling off. So here we are at a gas station taking it all down. Not me. I'm watching.
You really don't know, and having a little bit of Spanish communication is going to be great for you. And as soon as you cross that border, I promise you are going to want to learn so much more.
We hope you enjoyed and found this video informative. We've got a lot more Baja conversations that we're excited to have with you guys, including what we spent in a month down there, our overall thoughts on less logistical things, such as the places we went to and our experience as a whole. And we hope you stick around and check those out as they come.
So like and subscribe this video, and if you have any questions at all about our trip, feel free to leave it in the comments.
And that's all we got for today, so we'll see you next week.
Bye!
Bye! I think that went well. What do you think?